How to remove negative thoughts? A lot of you been asking me this question again and again. And I thought, let me just give you an insight on how to remove negative thoughts or how to work on them strategically so that you start working on your goals, working on your future in a more positive way. So let's understand whether it's possible to remove the negative thoughts entirely from your space. Well, the answer is no. Why? Why do we get these negative thoughts? Very simple, very important understanding that you must have about your life, your mind is we are wired as humans to think more negative than positive. This is called as negativity bias. We all as humans, our brain is designed or wired in a way that we look for more negative than positive. Think about it. When you go through an experience where you have somebody has praised you, somebody has said good things about you, but at the same time you got some critical feedback, especially at the in your job, when you get those feedbacks where you probably have 5 points which are really good about you, and there are 1 or 2 points which says that you need a little improvement in this area. What we do is we focus, we ruminate on those negative points. Suppose you had a fight with your partner, your spouse. Now, your spouse may have 10 good things about them, but what you will start focusing on is what negatives they have. Everywhere, it is like that. Look at your life and look at the experiences that you had in your life. Maybe, you had a humiliating experience in front of your friends. And you had great experiences with them. And your friends have probably forgotten about that humiliating experience, but you will not forget. Your mind will keep reminding you in that situation, in that place, with those people, those negative incidences or those negative things that happened in your life. This is negativity bias. We are all wired to look at and focus at more negative than positive. Why this happens to us? Why do we have this negative positive asymmetry in our space? So let's look at the millions of years of evolution that human brain has gone through. Think about it, like I always say that, about 7.5 millions of years back when humans evolved on this planet, we were at the lowest of the life chain and every predator was moving around and we were the prey to these predators. We were exposed to the battering weather conditions, we were exposed to the glaciers melting, or maybe a tiger or a lion chasing us and eating us. We were living in more negative circumstances than positive. Our brain for more than 5 millions of years in the beginning of our evolution was exposed to this negative so much. We would go hungry. A lot of humans would die of hunger than getting killed by a lion. So things like that have wired our brain to focus on what negative is there in an environment. Now what happens is, today's time there is no such we are not like, if you're watching this video, you're definitely not dying of hunger. You are probably not getting attacked by a lion or a tiger. You are more exposed to the things which are more of emotional pains or emotional triggers. Now this brain, which is a 7.5 million year old brain, or you can call it a reptilian brain, is designed to focus on an environment which is threatful. What are some of the threats? What are some of the challenges that you may be going through in your life? Now, it's not particularly going to only focus on the pain, which is physical pain, but it is also going to focus on the emotional pain. Because in this brain, the reaction to the stimulus, which is whether it's emotional or whether it's a physical pain, is going to be the same. It's going to put you back into the pain and pleasure. It's going to put you back into the fight and flight. It's going to put you back into the safety and comfort. And the moment this brain is activated in your space, remember, it's going to focus on more negative than positive, which is a fact. Now that you've understood that your brain is wired since millions of years to focus on negative, let's look at now how can you start managing it better. So stop saying that I don't want to think negative, because that's practically not possible. If you don't think negative, think about it, okay? I'll give you a scenario right now. You're standing on a cliff, and if there is no fear, if there is no negative thought, if there is no feeling that comes to you that, if you jump off this cliff, you're going to die, probably you'll take that chance. So every negative thoughts that comes to you to keep you safe and comfortable. Now you got to understand this, and from that point of view, now you got to start working on your negative thoughts, because most of the times your negative thoughts are on automation. In fact, all your thoughts, 95% of your thoughts are on automation. We get about 60,000 thoughts every single day. And think about it. If I have to ask you this question, how many thoughts do you remember you had today or yesterday? Your answer is going to be close to none or very few. Why? Your brain is on automation 95% of times. And in the 95% of time, that means your 95% of your thoughts are being on automation. Now, if you say that, how do I know whether I'm thinking negative or positive? Now, that's something that's very critical to understand. If you're someone who's a positive thinking person, then remember, you're not positive. If you have to think positive in probably half an hour, 1 hour's time in 24 hours, then you're not actually positive. Think about it. Pause and reflect and see how your thoughts are, how in general these thoughts come in your space. Now, as I said that we have thoughts on automation, there could be automatic positive thoughts and there could be automatic negative thoughts. Now, as I said that, we think very rarely about the positive situations and incidents and things that happen in our life. If I have to ask you today to think about a past memory, a positive past memory, you'll definitely go there. But it's going to take you some time to remember that memory or that moment in its entirety. Whereas if I tell you, go to a negative experience, you will immediately go. Focus just right now. Just think about a positive experience and negative experience. You'll observe you will go to the negative experience faster than the positive one. That's normal. So stop beating yourself down and saying that, hey, you know what, if I'm thinking negative, there is something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. It's your brain's mechanism to keep you safe and protected. So having understood that, let's understand how can we move our automatic negative thoughts to automatic positive thoughts, because that's what you want to do. It's not about half an hour you think positive in 24 hours. No, you got to move in 24 hours. How often are your thoughts on automatic positive circuit? Now, to do that, let's first understand the automatic negative thoughts. Think about, let's take an understanding of an ant. What does the ant do? Ant is crawling on a table and she sees probably a small cake crumb. Right? Now, in a moment you see, once that ant has seen that small cake crumb, there's a line of other ants following that ant and then they taking that cake crumb away. Now, how did the ants send message to the other ants about this cake crumb, about this food? So the ants send this message through the pheromones. And these pheromones are there inside us also. Similarly, one negative thought that pops up in your space, it just starts calling other negative thoughts in your space. And that's the reason one negative thought leads to another and another and another, creating a chain reaction in your space. And the moment you start thinking negative about an incident that happened in the past, you suddenly realize that automatically, 2-3 hours have passed by and you're still thinking about that person or that incident that happened in your life. Has it happened to you or is it happening to you? Let me know in the chat box. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, make sure that you do so before we go ahead with this video. Take a moment, click on that link, subscribe to this channel and switch on that bell icon so that you get notified for the new video. Now let's go in understanding more about what kind of negative thoughts that you may be getting in your space. See, your brain is designed in such a way that we all distort the information that comes to us. Now, whenever this distortion happens, whenever any information comes to us, a lot of us have a habit of, distorting in such a way that looking at it as a black and white information. Like probably you're thinking about yourself as a complete failure or a complete success. Is there a black and white view that you have about life? Or do you generalize this information? And whatever comes up into that incident, into that moment, do you just generalize in your brain that, oh, you know what, it always happens with me. Oh, I'm always unlucky. I never get opportunities. You know, the words that we use like always, never, and things like that says that we are generalizing every information that comes to us and put us into a bracket or a label. And most often when we have these negative labels given to us, you're going to produce the negative results because your identity carries that label. Now, you got to understand this. There are various ways that you may be distorting the information. So let's understand now what are some of the ways that you may be distorting that event and storing in your brain. So that information, that memory is then creating automatic negative thoughts in your space. Are you overgeneralizing? That's the third pattern of negative thinking. In this, what happens is, if in any situation you had a certain setback, like imagine that you are giving a presentation and that presentation didn't go well as per you thought or you wanted the way you wanted the results. Now in this case, what will happen is you will overgeneralize and put it in every other scenario, like maybe you're public speaking, maybe you are in an interview, maybe you have to express your innermost feelings to your partner, or maybe you are giving another presentation. Any of such kind of scenarios where you are exposed to the people around you, you're going to create an overgeneralization that it's all going to go wrong, not going to go the way you want, and it leads to then anxiety. The fourth kind of negative thinking pattern would be using the statements of should, could, would, where you would be using statements like, oh, I have to do this, I should be doing this, I would have to do this. You know, things like where you're emphasizing on something that you don't want to do, but you have to do for some reason, generally leads to invoking pessimistic, negative feelings about the situation or about the things that you get to do. So, you know, most often we say things like, you know, oh, I have to go to work. Oh, I have to do my homework. Oh, I have to go to that place. Instead of that, like, how would you start saying things like, oh, I get to get up in the morning. Instead of saying, I have to get up in the morning, you can say, I get to get up in the morning. I get to go for my job. I get to study. See, the moment you use the word have to, should, could, you are going to invoke more of regret and guilt feelings. But the moment you use words like, I get to go to the job, I get to be with my partner, I get to finish this work, you immediately shift your internal feelings and the dialogue that you have within yourself. So that's your fourth negative thinking pattern. The fifth negative pattern comes from your emotional reasoning. Most often when we make decisions, human being makes decisions based on our emotions, and then we try to prove them logically. All of us, if you think about the decisions that you have made in the past, most decisions are made through your emotions. Your emotions navigate you through your life. In fact, your emotions are on automation in your body. Initially, the experience creates the thoughts and the thoughts creates the emotions. But eventually, your emotions that run through your body, these emotions eventually then start creating a self-sustaining cycle of creating thoughts, and then your thoughts creating your experiences. So what happens is, the moment you see something or you hear something or you smell something, you felt something, and certain emotion that invoked in your space, and if that emotion made you feel nervous, you're going to attach a negative thought pattern to that experience, that situation, or that person. The sixth negative pattern is about over-personalizing and putting the blame. This is a negative pattern which comes to you when somebody gave you a feedback about something. Think about a scenario that you're in office and you're in a particular role, and a feedback be given to you for improvement in some area. Now, what happened in that area is basically that feedback was given to the role that you're playing in that office. That feedback was not to you as a person. But what happened is, because of this negative thinking, you started taking everything personally and you started blaming yourself for everything going wrong. And the situations and the things that you do not have control over, you start blaming yourself for being in such situations. And that leads to a lot of negative thinking patterns. Now let's come to the point of how can you cope up with this kind of negative thinking, or what can you do to really manage your life in more positive way. So the first thing first is you have to start understanding one very critical aspect about negative thinking is it affects your body. Most often people think the mind is somewhere else and the body is somewhere else. That's what we have learned since school days. When you are taught physics was separate and biology was separate, right? But that's not true. Your body is not just your physical body, but it is connected with your mind, with your emotions, and the energy around you. So the first thing that you have to understand to overcome or to work on your negative thinking patterns is focusing on your body. Now, if you are someone who's often thinking negative, I want you to focus on your breath. And when you focus on your breath, notice how your breathing is. Is it more shallow? Is it more frequent? Or is it like with a lot of, effort? Or are you breathing opposite? A lot of times people, those who have a lot of stress, anxiety, those who are dealing with negative thinking, overthinking, generally what I have noticed is their breathing is opposite. What do I mean by that? When you breathe in, ideally, your stomach should inflate. And when you breathe out, your stomach should go in. But when you think negative, observe your breathing. Are you breathing in and your stomach going inside? And when you're breathing out, is your stomach coming out? That's the opposite breathing. Most people, those who have chronic illnesses, stressful situations that they're dealing with, have opposite breathing. And this creates a self-sustaining cycle to continue thinking negative. So focus on your breath and see. First, observe how are you breathing. A regular normal breathing would be like a child. If you see an infant lying down, how does an infant breathe? When they take the breath goes in and the stomach comes out, it inflates. And when the breath goes out, the stomach goes down. So the first thing that you need to start doing is breathe in and let that stomach come out, and breathe in, breathe out and let that stomach go in. So first, regulate your breathing pattern. And no force breathing, very easy, smooth breathing. You have to develop a habit of breathing till your abdomen. Most often people breathe till their throat, sometimes till chest. But you got to understand that your breath should go in till stomach if you really want to live an easy life or have better thoughts for yourself. The second thing that I want you to do if you're a negative thinker, I want you to start journaling all your negative thoughts. Yes, journaling is the most effective way when it comes to negative thinking. Because see, your mind is all over the place when you're thinking negative. The moment you start putting it down and start writing, your body starts coordinating with the mind. And remember, the negative thoughts are very fast. And when you try to capture them on the journal, you're automatically slowing them down. Your neuropathways of your hand, your fingers are sending a message to slow down. And the moment you slow down, there's a higher possibility that your brain will stop thinking negative. Plus, when you pour out all your heart out on the paper, it always makes it easier that you're emptied your mind now, so you're feeling lighter and better. Test it out. Third, always keep a check on evidence. Whatever you thought in the past, all your negative thoughts, have they come true? I'm sure not. So keep a check on evidence of all your negative thoughts, whether the scenarios that you had in your mind, did they really come true? Most often it will be no. That will help you to give reality check so that you can start slowing down in this thinking. The fourth way to work on your negative thinking is, I want you to understand that your brain does not understand the difference between what is real and what is imaginary. So you can take advantage of this situation of your brain. So how do you work on it? Suppose you get a negative thought and you create a chain of negative thoughts. Your brain is thinking it's real and it's creating scenarios and experiences like that. So why not, in your mind, using this scenario, paint the town red and start thinking of more positive scenarios that can come up in your life. And I know you can't do it all of a sudden. So how about keeping a journal of positive scenarios? Just sit down with a cup of tea and just do some nice breathing, play some soothing music, have some nice candles aroma going around, and start writing how your life can be the best case scenario. And keep this, best case scenarios in various areas ready. Suppose if it is a relationship, then create a best case scenarios in the relationship. Suppose it is with your boss, then create the best case scenario there. If it's with your customer, your vendor, anywhere. Start writing these best case scenarios and make a habit of doing so every single day. Fifth, what I want you to do is, I want you to understand that your mind is always connected with your body. So in that case, the moment your mind is troubling you, jump off the seat, start focusing on your body. Either you can just do some workout or just walk around, just drink some water. And you know what? The best thing that you can do about it is focus on your body, go into your body, and now look at the 3 things that your body is touching to. Like, where are you sitting? The fabric that's brushing your body, maybe the chair or the bed that you're sitting on. Are your feet touching the chappals or the ground? The moment you start focusing on your body parts, you will start observing that your mind is at rest and stop thinking negative. The other thing you can do is start focusing on 3 sounds. Maybe the AC sound, fan sound, the bird's voice, any sound that comes from the far, from the distance. Now, the moment you start doing these things, your mind will stop thinking negative and it will get distracted and it will focus on the things which are actually there. And it will help you to bring you back into the present tense rather than going to the past and thinking negative or creating the worst case scenarios in the future. And the moment you are in the present tense, it's very rare that you will start thinking negative. Let me know in the chat box which of these is you're going to start with immediately and how this video was helpful to you. What are your 3 aha moments? Let me know in the comment box. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Send it to at least 10 people, those whom you feel this video will benefit. And make sure that you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon for the next video.